Hey guys, my name is Matt Johnson, and Sony just announced a camera that not many people were expecting, the A7R IV. The reason not many people were expecting this camera is, of course, we have not seen an A7S III yet. Now, I have another video that I'm coming out with very soon about where the A7S III may actually be, but today I want to talk to you about the video specs of the new A7R IV and tell you my thoughts about them. Please keep in mind that this camera was just announced, so I'm sure that some of these specs may change as more information about this camera comes out. Now, on to the A7R IV video specs. Let's start with the sensor. This is a new Sony 61 megapixel sensor, which I realize that years ago people said that megapixels don't matter. Well, 61 is still a very impressive number. That is getting close to medium format levels of resolution. And the main reason that I care about 61 megapixels as a video guy is because that is far above 8K resolution. And so if Sony were to enable this camera to record 8K, that would be awesome. Leading up to the launch of this camera, there were rumors saying that that may be the case. We could be seeing the A7R IV shooting 8K video. Unfortunately, that did not happen. The A7R IV only supports 4K at up to 30 frames per second in 8-bit. I really don't like that 4K at 30 frames per second is the limit here, especially when you consider how Panasonic is really pushing things with their full-frame S1, S1R, and S1H cameras that are shooting 10-bit at up to 4K and 30 frames per second and 4K at 60 frames per second with a crop. There is one exciting thing about this new sensor from a video standpoint though. Even though there's no 8K video in the A7R IV, Sony says that the camera is actually downsampling 6K video to 4K resolution. This means that the 4K video that this camera is going to be recording should look significantly sharper than any full-frame 4K video that we've seen from Sony so far. Remember when the A6300 came out? When that crop sensor camera was released, everyone was raving about how much sharper the 4K video looked with it than with the A7S II. The reason for that is because the A6300 was also downsampling a higher resolution video down to 4K. I really am excited that we now have a full frame camera from Sony that is downsampling from a higher resolution to 4K as well. Going back to Panasonic though, I'm sorry, I feel like I've been doing that a lot in a video about a Sony camera, but I feel like it's important for us to have some context about the current mirrorless camera landscape, especially in full frame. I can't help but feel that the A7R IV's downsampling 6K to 4K video would be significantly more exciting if Panasonic had not just announced the S1H, which actually records in 6K, no downsampling to 4K required. Next, let's talk about autofocus. And video autofocus on the A7R IV is an area where I think that Sony is easily going to be beating Panasonic, as well as pretty much all other camera manufacturers. Yes, even including Canon with their legendary dual pixel autofocus. The A7R IV has 576 phase detect autofocus points that cover 75% of the full frame sensor. And it also supports touch autofocus on the back screen, which would work very well for video. What's more exciting though is that for the A7R IV, Sony has added a major video specific autofocus feature. For the first time ever, Sony has brought eye detect autofocus to video. I've been waiting on them to do this for a long time, and I'm so glad that it is now possible. Why is this a big deal, Matt? Well, imagine you're filming one of the most difficult shots at a wedding. The bride walking down the aisle. You're positioned up at the front and she's walking towards you, and you are rack focusing as she is approaching. Some brides walk fast, and it is tough to keep their faces in focus as they walk closer, even with autofocus. With Sony's eye detect autofocus for video, the A7R IV is going to track the bride's eye as she walks closer and keep it in focus. This is going to be so useful, and I cannot wait for this to come to other Sony cameras in the future. Hopefully, possibly the A7S III. The other thing Sony focused on heavily in this event was audio, which is a little weird considering the A7R IV is a very photography focused camera. They spent a significant portion of the event speaking about its audio recording capabilities. But hey, I'm a video guy, I like audio, so I'm not upset about that. The main feature that Sony was focusing on in their event is that the A7R IV's hot shoe mount is now capable of recording a digital audio signal. According to Sony, with all other mirrorless and DSLR cameras, when you put a mic on top of your camera and plug it into the mic jack, that mic is going to record an analog audio signal. The camera then processes that audio signal into a digital signal and your audio is recorded. Sony is now giving you the option to record record a fully digital signal with their new ECM B1M and XLR K3M hot shoe mount microphone accessories. They claim that this will result in higher quality audio with less noise because it is a digital signal. I'm excited to see how this sounds in the future. Wrapping up, there are a few more quick things that we need to cover about this camera. First, it has a new body style with a bigger grip. It definitely looks chunkier than previous A7 series of cameras. I'm looking forward to a camera that's easier to hold, but more importantly than that, I want a camera that's a bit larger so it will dissipate heat more easily. I'm betting Sony will use the A7R4 body for the A7S III camera. So the thought of it being a bit bigger for high heat generating things like recording 4K video at 60 frames per second is a nice benefit. The A7R4 also has improved IBIS according to Sony, so we can hope that the in-body image stabilization is now better, possibly as good as Panasonic. I'm not gonna hold out hope here because Panasonic's is very good, but any improvement to IBIS is welcome. Of course, the camera also has S-Log2 and S-Log3 for up to 14 stops of dynamic range and HLG recording as well. The A7R4 also has dual UHS-2 card slots, where the previous A7R3 only had one UHS-2 card slot and one UHS-1 card slot. So that enhanced speed is going to be great to see as well. Lastly, and possibly one of the most exciting features for me to see, Sony has added the ability for you to save your camera settings to the SD card so that you can transfer those settings to another camera. Yes, if you have multiple A7R4 cameras, you can simply save your settings from one camera to the other, which will save you a lot of time syncing up your settings between the cameras. As someone that owns two A7S IIs, I'm so excited about this and really hope that it comes to future cameras like the A7S III. The Sony A7R4 releases in September 2019 for $3,500, and I will have links down in the description if you want to pre-order this camera. So in conclusion, those are the notable video specs for the A7R4. This is a camera that nobody was really expecting right now, especially considering that we haven't seen a Sony A7S III yet. It is a weird time to be a Sony shooter. If this camera came out a year ago, I would be much more excited about it from a video standpoint. But since Panasonic has already released the S1 and S1R, it's really hard to cheer for Sony when they're releasing a camera that still only records 8-bit and 4K at up to 30 frames per second. If you are primarily a photographer that wants to shoot video on the side, I think the A7R4 with its 61 megapixels will be amazing for you. But for me, I am left waiting for the mythical and often rumored Sony A7S III. And I am hoping that whenever that camera is released, it will compete from a video standpoint with other camera manufacturers, especially Panasonic with their full frame camera offerings. I have a video about the Sony A7S III coming out very soon, so please consider subscribing if you want to see that. With that, thank you so much for watching and have a great day.